How do you manage players who potentially, I don't know, don't buy into the that will have an incredible skill level. There's an element of their skill level that is undoubtedly going to get them on the field because they may be, like
Mhm.
you said, they may have attributes that are just better and genetic freaks and different to others.
Yeah.
How do you kind of convince them with that buy-in for strength and conditioning that's going to, well, it's proven to improve their injury rates, their
Yeah.
performance, and everything. How do you work around that?
Yeah. I mean, I think the first thing is that you own your lack of success, right? I'm a big believer in extreme ownership. If a player doesn't buy into what I'm selling, then I'm not a good salesman. I haven't articulated my perspective effectively, and probably more importantly, I haven't done a good enough job of involving him in the process, to giving him an ownership role in his training, to provide feedback on what's worked, what hasn't, so that we can work together to pull together a program that's going to work well for him. And that's something that we did, I think, extremely well as we came in and, kind of changed the focus of some of the things that were going on with the Yankees when I started up this past year. But, that's something that I think we've built our entire business and private sector on, is giving athletes an ownership role. But I think one of the things that's incredibly powerful that we've always been able to do in the private sector is leverage our previous successes, right? So if we have a 16-year-old kid that wants to throw year round, I can walk him across the room and introduce him to a big leaguer who, took 3 months off per year, played a different sport, did something differently and had success doing it. So we can at least generate a really quick sample size for him to say, hey, this has worked for other athletes right now. Like, I know this is what you want to do. It's probably not in your best interest. If you decide you want to go that route, let's talk about how we can make it work sustainably. But I think anytime you can leverage previous successes, that's really, really helpful. And that's easy for me to say, right? Because I can walk across the room and do that. It's a lot harder for a younger coach to do that. So you're going to have to take different avenues. But I always come back to, like, you start with a shared goals discussion, right? So if, not to get political, but if you and I were, at completely opposite ends of the political spectrum, right? We're probably going to butt heads if we just argue about, point counterpoint count, things like that. But if we both agree that our goal is to make X better and Y better, if we understand what the actual goal is, it immediately becomes a much more productive conversation, right? If I say, some of the stuff on my side, like, that's way too extreme, I would never do that. And you say, hey, some of the stuff on our end, like, we push that too far, we're not going to do that. And you have, like, this perspective about not being extremist, you can all of a sudden find a really, really appropriate way to meet in the middle. And I think you have to do that with all of your athletes.